Hello, night traveler. This is Linus, your dreamweaver for magical nights. Snuggle into your blanket and let your imagination flow freely as we venture into the enchanted paths of magical and fantastical tales. Tonight, we'll embark on a journey into an ancient forest where magic and mystery intertwine. A young hunter named Finn discovers he is destined for a great mission. Guided by shimmering fairies and an ancestral vision, Finn faces the fearsome spirit Baylor and his dark creatures. With each step, he forms unexpected alliances and uncovers ancient secrets. But can he purify the forest and restore harmony before it's too late? Ready to dream? Among the ancient oaks and enchanted rivers of the Sleeve Bloom Forest, hidden in the depths of Ireland, lived a group of Celtic fairies. This place, protected by ancestral spirits, was a haven of magic and mystery. The morning mist enveloped the tall trees, whose thick trunks told stories of past ages. The fairies, small and graceful beings with sparkling wings, danced to the melodies of the crystal-clear streams. It was a world where nature and the supernatural coexisted harmoniously, a sanctuary of tranquility and magic. The forest was dense and vibrant, each leaf and flower seemed to pulse with life. Sunlight filtered through the tree canopies, creating mesmerizing patterns on the moss-covered ground. The bird songs mixed with the gentle sound of the streams, composing a natural symphony that calmed any restless heart. The air was always fresh, carrying the aroma of pine and wet earth, a fragrance that evoked ancient memories of bygone times. The nearby human inhabitants revered the forest, believing it to be the home of mystical beings that could both bless and curse. Stories passed down through generations spoke of encounters with fairies, elves, and other enchanted creatures that guarded the forest's secrets. There was a deep and almost fearful respect for the Sleeve Bloom Forest, and few dared to venture into its depths without a strong reason or spiritual protection. The Celtic fairies, in particular, were the most revered guardians. Small and ethereal, they possessed a beauty that defied description. Their transparent wings reflected all the colors of the rainbow when touched by light, and their eyes shone with ancestral knowledge. They lived in harmony with nature, caring for the plants and animals, and ensuring the forest's balance was maintained. The fairies were known for their magical abilities, capable of healing, protecting, and even playing tricks on unsuspecting humans who did not respect their territory. As night fell, the forest transformed even more. Floating lights, like tiny stars, appeared among the trees, guided by the delicate hands of the fairies. It was a spectacle of beauty and mystery, where the line between the real and the fantastic blurred. With each step, the forest revealed new secrets, and every whisper of the wind carried stories of love, loss, and redemption. It was in this enchanted setting that Finn's story began, a young hunter from the village of Glencree, who was about to embark on a journey that would change his life forever. Unknowingly, he would be led to uncover the ancient secrets held by the Sleeve Bloom Forest and to discover a world of magic and unexpected friendship. Finn, a young hunter with brown hair and green eyes like the forest around him, lived in the village of Glencree near the Sleeve Bloom Forest. Raised among stories of magic and mythical creatures, Finn always had an adventurous spirit. Despite his skill with a bow and arrow, he was known for his kind heart and insatiable curiosity. His greatest dream was to explore the depths of the forest and discover its hidden secrets, an ambition he had nurtured since childhood. The son of a carpenter and a healer, Finn learned the value of nature and simple living from an early age. His mother, Sorka, was known for her healing abilities with herbs and potions, teaching Finn to respect plants and their magical properties. His father, Eamon, built a relationship of trust and practical skills with him, showing him how to build traps and hunt sustainably. Together, they formed a close-knit and loving family that supported each other's dreams. Finn had a best friend named Aiden, a cheerful and loyal boy who shared his fascination with the forest. Aiden, though more cautious, always stood by Finn in their adventures. They spent hours exploring the forest's edges, dreaming of the magical worlds they might discover. Aiden had a knack for stories and legends, often narrating old tales he had heard from the village elders. These tales fueled Finn's imagination even more, prompting him to seek the hidden truths in the fables. In the village, Finn was also close to his grandmother, Bridget, a wise and enigmatic woman who possessed deep knowledge of ancient Celtic traditions. Bridget taught him the importance of nature's cycles, seasonal celebrations, and offerings to the forest spirits. She warned him about the dangers of disrespecting enchanted beings and told him stories about the fairies that protected the forest. Finn loved spending nights by the fireplace, listening to Bridget's stories, feeling increasingly connected to the mysticism of his heritage. Despite his peaceful life in the village, Finn always felt a call to something greater, something magical. He believed he was destined for an extraordinary adventure, one that would lead him to meet the fairies and unravel the mysteries of the Sleeve Bloom Forest. This burning desire often made him daydream, imagining himself in fantastic settings, fighting dark creatures and finding magical allies. One day, upon returning from a hunt, Finn found a peculiar artifact among the trees, a small silver amulet decorated with intricate Celtic symbols. Intrigued, he decided to take it to his grandmother Bridget, hoping she could reveal its meaning. Bridget, seeing the amulet, was surprised and somewhat apprehensive. She explained to Finn that the object was an ancient fairy protection, a sign that something important was about to happen in his life. With this revelation, Finn's curiosity only grew, and he felt that his great adventure was about to begin. On a foggy morning, Finn set out on a hunt that would change his life forever. Following the tracks of a deer, he strayed further from his village than ever before. The forest seemed to call to him, its whispers guiding him to an unknown path. After hours of walking, Finn found himself lost, surrounded by trees he had never seen before. Then, he heard a soft and melodious laughter, coming from a group of fairies that glowed like stars. They watched him with curiosity, their wings shimmering in the diffused morning light. Intrigued and a bit apprehensive, Finn decided to follow the fairies, who danced and laughed, floating gracefully in the air. He found himself going deeper into the forest, where the vegetation was denser and the sounds of nature more intense. The fairies led him to a hidden clearing, a place of indescribable beauty where rare flowers bloomed and a crystal-clear waterfall cascaded into a small pond. Finn was awestruck by what he saw, feeling as if he had entered a completely different world. At that moment, a majestic fairy approached Finn. She was slightly larger than the others, with long silver hair and eyes that shone like sapphires. She introduced herself as Aisling, the leader of the Sleeve Bloom Forest Fairies. Aisling explained that Finn had been chosen for a special mission, a task only he could fulfill. Surprised and honored, Finn listened attentively as Aisling told him about an ancient evil that threatened the forest and its magical creatures. Aisling revealed that an evil spirit known as Balor had awakened from his eternal slumber and was corrupting the purity of the forest. This spirit, full of hatred and vengeance, sought to destroy all that was beautiful and magical. Only a human with a pure heart and a fearless mind could help the fairies combat this threat. Finn, with his adventurous spirit and love for nature, was the chosen one for this mission. With his heart racing, Finn accepted the call to adventure. He knew the journey would be dangerous, but he was determined to protect the forest and its magical inhabitants. Aisling gave him the silver amulet he had found, explaining that it contained ancient powers that would aid him in his mission. She also gave him an enchanted bow, made of yew wood and adorned with magical runes, capable of shooting arrows with supernatural precision and strength. Thus, with the amulet around his neck and the bow in his hands, Finn set out on his journey. The fairies accompanied him for a while, guiding him and offering wise advice. They led him to the edge of the clearing, where a narrow, winding path extended through the dense forest. Finn knew that from that moment on, he would be on his own, facing unknown dangers and challenging his own limits. As he walked along the indicated path, Finn felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The forest seemed alive around him, every sound and movement amplified by the silence that enveloped him. He knew he needed to stay alert, for Balor and his evil forces could be lurking anywhere. But with the amulet glowing on his chest and the bow firm in his hands, Finn felt ready to face any challenge that might come his way. Finn advanced through the forest with determination, but it didn't take long for him to encounter the first obstacles on his journey. The path became increasingly difficult, with vegetation closing in around him and roots jutting out, trying to trip his feet at every step. He had to use all his hunting skills to move silently and avoid hidden dangers. As he advanced, Finn noticed signs of corruption in the forest. Plants that were once green and vibrant were now withered and blackened. The air, which used to be fresh and pure, was heavy and dense, carrying a smell of decay. He knew this was Balor's doing and that he needed to act quickly to stop the spread of darkness. Suddenly, Finn heard a deep, threatening growl. He crouched, hiding behind a bush, and watched as a monstrous creature emerged from the shadows. It was a werewolf, one of Balor's servants, with bright red eyes and sharp fangs. Finn knew he couldn't run away. He had to face the creature to continue his journey. With calm and precision, Finn raised his enchanted bow and aimed at the creature. He remembered Aisling's words, telling him to trust in the power of the amulet and his own skills. Exhaling, he released the arrow, which flew in a perfect arc and struck the werewolf directly in the heart. The creature let out an agonizing howl and fell to the ground, turning into a cloud of black dust. Despite the victory, Finn knew this was only the beginning of the challenges he would face. He continued on his path, encountering other obstacles such as natural traps and smaller creatures, all corrupted by Balor's influence. With each battle, Finn felt his confidence grow, but also his concern for what lay ahead. Eventually, Finn reached a deep ravine with a rushing river at the bottom. He knew he needed to cross, but there was no bridge or clear path to the other side. While pondering what to do, he heard the sound of wings flapping and saw a fairy approaching. It was Aisling, who had come to check on his progress. Aisling explained that Finn needed to use his intelligence, not just his strength, to overcome this obstacle. She showed him a series of stones emerging from the river, forming a precarious but possible path to the other side. With an encouraging nod, she disappeared again, leaving Finn to face the challenge. Finn took a deep breath and began to leap from stone to stone, maintaining his balance as the river roared below him. Each jump was a test of his courage and skill, but he remembered Aisling's words and trusted in his own abilities. After an exhausting effort, he finally reached the other side, feeling exhausted but triumphant. Now, with the dense forest opening up again before him, Finn knew he was one step closer to his goal. He continued his journey, aware that the challenges would only get harder, but determined to protect the Sleeve Bloom Forest and defeat Balor once and for all. As Finn advanced through the forest, he noticed that the environment around him began to change. The darkness that seemed to envelop him started to dissipate, giving way to a soft golden light that illuminated the path ahead. It was as if the forest itself was responding to his determination and courage, guiding him to something grand. It was then that he found a small field filled with glowing flowers, each petal radiating magical light. In the center of this field was a circle of mushrooms, a natural portal to the fairy world. Finn knew, from stories told by his grandmother Bridget, that mushroom circles were portals to the other world, a place where fairies and other magical entities resided. Feeling drawn to the enchanted field, Finn stepped into the circle. Immediately, he was enveloped by a sense of calm and peace, as if all his fears and worries had been washed away. Suddenly, the environment around him changed. He was in a dazzling place with landscapes that defy imagination. Trees with golden leaves, crystal-clear lakes, and green hills stretched as far as the eye could see. In this magical world, Finn met Luff, the god of light and skills. Luff was an imposing warrior with an aura of power and wisdom. He greeted Finn with a welcoming smile and praised his courage for accepting the mission to protect the forest. Luff revealed that Finn was descended from an ancient lineage of forest guardians and that his destiny was intertwined with that of the fairies. Luff decided to test Finn, not only in his strength but also in his wisdom and compassion. He took him to an enchanted lake where a mythical creature, the Puka, resided. The Puka was known for its mischievous nature and for testing human bravery. Luff explained that Finn needed to gain the Puka's trust to obtain a vision of the future and Balor's traps. Finn approached the lake cautiously, calling for the Puka. The creature emerged from the waters, a shape-shifting being, sometimes appearing as a black horse, other times a large rabbit. The Puka challenged him to answer 3 riddles, promising him the desired vision if he succeeded. The first riddle was about the forest itself. What lives without breathing, casts shadow without sun, and murmurs without voice? Finn thought for a moment and answered, the trees of the forest. The Puka smiled, indicating the answer was correct. The second riddle was more complex. I am the beginning of the end, and the end before the beginning. I am the sign of a journey and the origin of every story. Finn pondered deeply and answered, the letter E. Once again, the Puka nodded in approval. The third and final riddle was the most difficult. I never am, I always will be. No one has ever seen me, but everyone knows who I am. What am I? Finn remembered his grandmother Bridget's stories about time and answered, tomorrow. The Puka laughed and said that Finn had proven his worth. With the riddle solved, the Puka revealed the vision. Finn saw Baylor, a dark and menacing figure, preparing a trap in the forest's depths. He also saw bright light, symbolizing hope and strength, emanating from a hidden place, an ancient sanctuary that could help in defeating Baylor. Luff, satisfied with Finn's performance, blessed him with an additional amulet, a talisman of protection and courage. He explained that, with this talisman, Finn would be able to face the greatest dangers without being corrupted by Baylor's evil. Finn thanked him deeply and promised to use the gifts wisely. Before leaving, Luff gave Finn one last piece of advice: trust in your heart and the alliances you will make along the way. Only then will you be able to restore peace to the forest. With these words engraved in his mind, Finn left the magical world and returned to the forest, determined and strengthened for the challenges yet to come. Upon returning to the forest, Finn felt the weight of his mission more intensely. He knew he would soon have to face Baylor and that this battle would require more than just physical strength. The evil spirit was not only a powerful enemy but also cunning and full of dark tricks. Finn needed to be prepared for any eventuality. As he advanced, he came across an abandoned village, consumed by darkness and desolation. The houses were in ruins, and vegetation had taken over the place. In the village's center, Finn found an old well, surrounded by moss-covered stones. Feeling a strange presence, he approached cautiously. Suddenly, a dark figure emerged from the well. It was Baylor, the evil spirit he had seen in the vision. Baylor had a terrifying appearance, with flaming eyes and an aura of darkness that made the surrounding temperature drop drastically. He laughed at Finn, mocking his courage and calling him to a duel. Baylor cast a curse on Finn, trying to corrupt his heart and mind. But Luff's talisman glowed intensely, protecting Finn from the darkness. Enraged, Baylor summoned shadow creatures to attack Finn, but he was prepared. With his enchanted bow, he shot arrows of light that dissipated the creatures with a single blow. The battle was intense and exhausting, with Baylor using all his dark powers to try to defeat Finn. But every time it seemed Baylor had the upper hand, Finn found strength within himself to keep fighting. He remembered Luff's words and the vision of the Sanctuary of Light. Finn knew he needed to reach that place to defeat Baylor once and for all. At the height of the battle, Baylor revealed his true form, a giant with a single eye, whose gaze could destroy anything it saw. Finn had to use all his skill and courage to dodge Baylor's devastating attacks. He climbed a tall tree and, from there, shot an arrow directly into Baylor's eye, blinding him temporarily. Seizing the opportunity, Finn ran towards the Sanctuary of Light he had seen in the vision. He followed the signs left by the fairies, who seemed to guide him with bright lights on the ground. Finally, he reached a circle of ancient stones, emanating a powerful and pure energy. Finn knew this was the place where he could find the strength needed to defeat Baylor. As he entered the circle, Finn felt a wave of power coursing through his body. He raised Luff's talisman and spoke the words of protection he had learned from his grandmother Bridget. The stones around him began to glow intensely, forming a shield of light that enveloped Finn. Baylor, blind with fury and pain, tried to break the shield but was repelled by the sanctuary's pure energy. It was then that Finn saw Aisling and other fairies appear around him, singing an ancient and powerful melody. The song increased the shield's strength, and Finn felt invincible. With one last effort, He shot an arrow of light directly into Balor's heart, who let out a terrifying scream before disintegrating into a cloud of darkness. The battle was won, but Finn knew his journey was not yet over. The forest needed to be healed and restored, and he had a crucial role in this process. With the help of the fairies and the gifts he had received, Finn prepared for the next stage of his mission, determined to bring peace and balance back to the Sleeve Bloom Forest. With Balor defeated, Finn began to realize that his journey was far from over. The forest still bore the scars of corruption, and complete restoration would require more than just magic. He would need to form alliances and work alongside those who also loved the forest. It was then that he encountered a group of druids, led by a wise woman named Maeve. Maeve was a druidess of great power and knowledge, known for her deep connection with nature and the forest spirits. She welcomed Finn and congratulated him on his courage and determination. Maeve explained that although Balor was defeated, the darkness he had spread still needed to be purified. Together, they could perform ancient rituals to restore harmony in the forest. Maeve introduced Finn to the other members of her circle, each with special skills that would be essential for the restoration. Among them was Ewan, a master of herbs and potions, and Siobhan, a singer whose voice possessed healing powers. With this new alliance formed, Finn felt his hopes renewed and was ready to work alongside them. The first step was to purify the forest's water sources, which had been poisoned by Balor's darkness. Finn, Maeve, and the druids traveled to the main river, where they performed a purification ritual. Siobhan sang an enchanting melody, while Maeve and Ewan prepared a magical potion made from sacred herbs. Finn, with his amulet glowing intensely, helped pour the potion into the waters, which began to shine with a purifying light. As the water became clear and bright, life in the forest began to revive. The withered plants bloomed again, and the animals returned to their natural habitats. Finn felt great joy seeing the positive effects of their efforts, but knew there was still much to be done. During his journey with the druids, Finn also had the opportunity to learn more about ancient magic and Celtic traditions. Maeve taught him about the moon cycles and seasonal celebrations, while Ewan showed him the healing properties of various plants. He became an eager apprentice, absorbing all the knowledge he could, knowing it would make him a better guardian of the forest. One day, while exploring a remote area of the forest, Finn and the druids found an ancient tree, known as the Tree of Life. Maeve explained that this tree was the heart of the forest and that its health was directly linked to the well-being of the entire ecosystem. However, the tree was weakened by the darkness Balor had spread, and they needed to revitalize it. Maeve and the druids began a powerful ritual around the Tree of Life, singing ancient chants and drawing sacred symbols on the ground. Finn, with Lufa's amulet in hand, approached the tree and touched its trunk, feeling the pulsing energy within it. He closed his eyes and focused, sending all his strength and determination into the tree. Slowly, the Tree of Life began to glow with a golden light. Its leaves gained a new shine, and deep roots spread through the soil, reinforcing its connection with the earth. Finn felt a wave of energy pass through him, as if the forest itself was thanking him for his efforts. With the Tree of Life revitalized, the forest began to recover more quickly. The fairies returned in greater numbers, and harmony was restored among all beings. Finn, Maeve, and the druids continued to work together, performing more rituals and spreading light and healing throughout the Sleeve Bloom Forest. Finn knew his journey had transformed him deeply. He was no longer just a curious hunter. Now, he was a true guardian of the forest, a protector of ancient secrets, and an ally of the fairies and druids. And with his new alliances, he was confident he could face any future challenge, keeping the forest safe and thriving for generations to come. Although the forest was recovering, Finn knew there was still one last battle to be fought. Balor, even defeated, had left traces of his darkness that needed to be eradicated to ensure the lasting safety of the Sleeve Bloom Forest. With Maeve, the druids, and the fairies by his side, Finn prepared for the final confrontation. During their explorations, they discovered an ancient temple hidden deep in the forest. This temple, known as the Temple of Shadows, was where Balor had concentrated his evil energy. Maeve explained that to completely purify the forest, they needed to enter the temple and perform a powerful ritual to banish the remaining darkness. On the way to the temple, Finn and his group faced several challenges. Dark creatures and magical traps guarded the path, testing their courage and skills. However, with the combined strength of their alliances, they managed to overcome each obstacle. The fairies used their magic to dispel illusions, while the druids broke ancient spells with their chants and potions. Finally, they reached the temple's entrance, an imposing structure made of black stone, covered with ancient runes that glowed with a sinister light. Finn felt a shiver run down his spine, but he knew he couldn't back down. With Lufa's amulet in hand and determination in his heart, he led the group into the temple. Inside the Temple of Shadows, the darkness was palpable, almost suffocating. The air was heavy, and sounds echoed strangely, creating an atmosphere of tension. In the temple's center, they found an altar where Balor had performed his evil rituals. The altar emanated a black energy that made Finn's skin crawl. Maeve and the druids began to prepare the purification ritual, while Finn and the fairies kept watch, ready for any attack. They lit candles made of sacred wax and drew symbols of protection around the altar. Siobhan began to sing an ancient melody, her notes resonating throughout the temple and filling it with a soft, healing light. Suddenly, an earthquake shook the temple, and Balor's spectral figure appeared once more, determined to protect his domain. He laughed, mocking Finn and his allies' efforts. "You will never banish me completely," he growled. "My darkness is eternal." But Finn, with the strength of Lufa's amulet and faith in his friends, faced Balor without fear. He raised the amulet, which shone intensely, radiating a light that made Balor recoil. Maeve and the druids joined their voices to Siobhan's, increasing the ritual's power. The temple stones began to glow with a golden light, and the black altar cracked under the pressure of pure energy. Balor launched one last desperate attack, trying to envelop Finn in darkness. However, Finn, with unwavering determination, shot an arrow of light directly at the evil spirit. The arrow, imbued with the power of the amulet and the fairy's magic, pierced Balor, who let out a scream of agony before exploding into a cloud of darkness that quickly dissipated. With Balor finally destroyed, the temple began to transform. The darkness was replaced by a golden light emanating from the now purified altar. The runes on the walls glowed with renewed energy, and the air became fresh and light. Maeve completed the ritual, sealing the temple and ensuring that darkness would never return. Finn and his allies left the temple, exhausted but victorious. The forest around them seemed more vibrant than ever, with brighter colors and a sense of peace and harmony. The fairies danced joyfully, celebrating the victory over Balor and the complete restoration of the Sleeve Bloom Forest. With the final battle won and the forest restored, Finn knew it was time to return to his village. He bid farewell to Maeve, the druids, and the fairies, promising always to protect the forest and keep the wisdom he had learned alive. Maeve gifted Finn with a protective amulet, a symbol of his new position as guardian of the forest. Upon returning to Glencree, Finn was welcomed as a hero. The villagers, who had felt the darkness dissipate, knew Finn had played a crucial role in the forest's restoration. His family welcomed him with pride and love, especially his grandmother Bridget, who smiled wisely seeing the amulet around his neck. Finn shared his adventures with the villagers, telling them about the magical encounters and alliances he had formed. He spoke of the fairies, the druids, and the battle against Balor, inspiring everyone with his courage and determination. The village children listened to his stories with wide eyes, dreaming of one day following in his footsteps. In the following weeks, Finn helped implement protective practices in the village, teaching the villagers the rituals and traditions he had learned. They planted sacred trees and built small altars to honor the forest spirits. The connection between Glencree and the Sleeve Bloom Forest had never been stronger. Now a recognized guardian, Finn felt a deep inner peace. He knew his role in protecting the forest was vital, and he was determined to fulfill his duty with dedication. He continued to train his skills, both as a hunter and protector, always ready to face any threat that might arise. One night, as Finn sat around the fireplace with his family, he looked at the starry sky and felt profound gratitude. His journey had been full of challenges, but also discoveries and growth. He had found a greater purpose and a community of allies who shared his mission. His grandmother Bridget, noticing his thoughtful gaze, said softly, "You have become everything I knew you could be, Finn. The forest and our village are safe because of you." Finn smiled, feeling the warmth of Bridget's words and knowing his journey was just beginning. With a heart full of hope and determination, Finn prepared for whatever the future might bring. He knew there would always be challenges to face, but with the fairy's wisdom, the druid's strength, and his community's support, he was ready to protect the Sleep Bloom Forest and ensure its magic and beauty continued to thrive. And so, Finn's story, the young hunter who became a forest guardian, echoed through generations. His courage and dedication inspired many, and the Sleep Bloom Forest remained a place of peace, magic, and mystery, guarded by ancestral spirits and the brave hearts that rose to protect it. Good night and enchanted dreams.